Hello and welcome back to one of my videos. So today I wanted to do something a little bit different, but it's still sort of connected to the whole Anna's trying illustration thing. Basically, I wanted to make a video on how I make prints, because I am wanting to make prints. Back in July, I think, I thought it would be quite cool to open an Etsy shop. And so I did, and I just put a couple of my prints up on there, and it actually got 2 sales. So that was quite surprising. Since then, I've gone through the whole debacle of finding a printer and trying to work out how to best make my prints look as realistic as possible, etc, etc. So I thought I'd make a little video explaining how I'm currently making prints and offer any sort of hints and tips that I've come across in my short experience of doing this. So here we go. So firstly, obviously, I need to find something to make a print of, and so I decided for this print specifically that I'd make a print of the illustrations I did for a video a couple weeks back where I painted dark academia paintings, because that was a bit of a spread of different ideas and I thought I could combine it or just make a page of it. I wasn't entirely sure how the print was going to come out at this stage, but I thought this would probably be a good thing to start off with. So I throw my picture into the scanner, it scans away at 600 dpi. dpi stands for dots per inch. As far as I can gather, it's basically a resolution, the higher the better, and it seems that most home scanners will scan like in 300 or 600. I'm pretty sure this scanner does do 300 and 600, but obviously I want to try and get the best resolution that I possibly can, so it's 600 dpi for me. The good thing about the printer is it sends it directly to your computer. I never had this with the old printer, so everything's new and wonderful for me at the moment. So that's great. And I've chosen to have that send it to me as a TIFF, which is a good extension for editing photos. So I check over the TIFF image on my computer, making sure that all the lines are nice and sharp. This one I had to go back and redo a couple of the illustrations because some of them were on the corner and they were a bit fuzzy, so I went back and did that and it all came out sharp in the end, which was great. And then once I was happy with that raw scan, I opened up GIMP because that's what I use to edit my photos. And away we go with the editing. So the first thing I do is I want to make sure the colours and the contrast are as close to the real thing as possible. So far it seems that I don't need to alter the colours that much with this scanner. Basically I've been using curves and I've brought up the highlights and brought down the shadows. I think that's the correct terminology. Doing that seems to bring the scanned image very close to what the original looks like. And I always have the original illustration in front of me while doing this, so I actually have a reference. That's a fun little tip because I've tried doing this without a reference and my god, it is very different to what the original looks like. So always have it in front of you. Then once I'm happy with the colours, I want to cut out the illustration from the image so that I can just maneuver the illustration around as I want to. So to start off with that, I use the Magic Wand tool in GIMP, and what that tool does is automatically separates any colour from like white, basically. So I can sort of get rid of all the white surrounding the image and I'm left with a cutout of the coloured image. Using this tool really depends on what you're doing. In some things that I've done in the past, it is horrible and you do not want to use it. And in other things like this, it works quite well. It just sort of automatically gets rid of the major work and then I just need to go around and neaten things up. So I use that tool for this one and then I'm left with a bit of a dirty looking image that you can see the white outlines around it. So what I then do after that is a bit of a long process, but it's worth it in the end. You basically get out the eraser and you zoom in very close so that you can see each pixel, and you slowly work your way around the outline of the image, getting rid of that white but keeping the colour. I always set the eraser to have a soft edge, I think it's called in GIMP, or I unselect the hard edge options. So that means that it's more fine and the erasing is more subtle. So it just looks more realistic and it doesn't look like it's being cut out. So I find this is the thing that takes up most of the time with the printing. It's just cutting everything out and making sure that the image is completely separated from its original white background. And even though it's a bit of a menial task, I do quite enjoy this part because like you can just put music on in the background and zone out, and it's quite satisfying really. So I do spend quite a while doing that. And just trying to perfect it as much as I possibly can. And the reason I'm doing this is so that I can have the cutout image and put it straight onto the white background and there won't be any differences in whites. I found this in the past where if I've taken a photo or if I haven't cut it out properly, then the original white that the watercolour illustration was on, so the original paper, that could be more blue or more yellow than an actual proper white colour, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. I'm terrible at explaining things sometimes. But that's the main reason why we really want to spend time cutting this out and erasing any evidence of the original white paper that it was on. Watercolour's a bit of a doozy when it comes to printing. I've read things where they say it's best to take photos under natural lights, and there's other people that say scanning's actually better. I have tried taking photos of my artwork to turn into a print, but I'm not that great of a photographer and I don't have the right lighting, and the results haven't been that good in the past, so I've settled on scanning. And for this scanner specifically that I'm using, it's a Canon TR8600. The original printer that I had at home was a 15-year-old Epson and it was on its last legs, so I deliberately went out and got a Canon because I'd heard good things about this model, and so far it's serving very well as both a printer and a scanner, so I'm happy with this purchase, and it wasn't too expensive as well because some printers are very pricey. So like I said at the start of this video, I'm doing all these prints to try and put onto my Etsy site, which I will link down below. It's just a bit of a passion project that I've got going on. I thought that some of the things that I've made could be worth sharing and people may enjoy them, and so I just wanted to make a couple of prints and see if anybody would like it. And I think it's like really cool that now 2 people in the world have my drawings in their house, and it's weird to think about, but it's happened and it's very exciting. So yeah, that's why I've started an Etsy store. And when I first started it, I was originally getting the prints made at Officeworks, which in Australia is like a warehouse where you get stationery from and you get your photos printed and everything like that. And the first few prints that I got done there were good, but I quickly realised that it would be nice to have my own printer at home, because if I made a mistake in the editing and I took the image to Officeworks to get them printed, like, I can't sort of say, oh no, let me go back and fix that and then take it in again. It was just a bit of a hassle having to sort of take it to somewhere external. So it's nice to have a printer at home and be able to see what mistakes you make in real time and then edit it in real time and then print it again. So that was one of my main reasons of going out and getting a printer, as well as the fact that our other printer was dying. So once I had everything cut out, I then went on to designing the look of the prints. I was originally just going to sort of layer everything how I originally illustrated it, so like it would just be splashes of like a book here and the stack of books there and, you know, the teacup and everything. But then I thought maybe it would be better to sort of set it out in a specific design. So I played around with that for a while and I ended up with 2 different designs in the end. There was the one with the stack of books with the flowers on top and the candle in the foreground, and then I had the bookshelf in the background. And then the other one I did was with the stack of books and the flowers in the foreground, and then the open book and the teacup in the background. And they were my 2 things that I was sort of very happy with. In the end, I just decided on printing the teacup one. I may go back and print the other one, but I was just sort of more drawn to this one than I was the other. So that's what I went with. And so I've got a selection of paper that I'm printing on. I went a bit ballistic at Officeworks buying stationery, because you can never have enough stationery, can you? So I bought a photo gloss paper, which is at 250 GSM. GSM basically is how thick the paper is. So the thicker, the more quality in a way. That's how I see it anyway, so I'm always trying to go for larger numbers, like 250, 300 is cool. So I picked up some of those, so that's a gloss paper. I then also have a linen bound 216 GSM paper. That's matte and it's just got a whole different look about it. You can see the threads of the paper and everything. I think it looks quite like aesthetically pleasing, so I bought that. And then I've also got a 200 GSM just plain matte paper as well. So I'm currently still experimenting with these papers. The matte papers obviously absorb the ink a lot more, so the colours are slightly different. And what I've decided to do with my Etsy shop is offer all 3 different types of paper. So you can choose from gloss, the linen blend, or just the plain matte as well. Oh, and they're all A5 size as well, because I like A5 a lot. I think it's a happy little size. And then the exciting part is when it's being printed. I do like just watching it come out and think, wow, that's amazing, I made this. Small things amuse small minds, you know how it is. And once everything's printed, I then go on to taking pictures of the print, and that's all for the Etsy store. So to show actually what the product looks like and to show what each of the different paper looks like as well, I always try and zoom up on the gloss, the matte and the linen bound matte, just so anybody can see the quality of the paper and what it looks like, especially with the textured one. But once all the printing's done and the photographs of the prints are done, then I just upload it onto Etsy and make it live, and there we are, that's it. So I hope that this video has been somewhat educational and interesting. If you're wanting to get into making prints, or if you're wanting to find different ways of making prints, then hopefully I've offered a couple of tips there. And that's all. I just think it's very fun experimenting with all this sort of stuff, and very cool to think that people can just buy it. That's very cool. So like I said, still a passion project, but very enjoyable. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in another video. Bye!